All right, guys. So today, we are going. Sorry, my drawings are upside down because I have the phone kind of at a weird angle. I'm gonna hold on, turn this around real quick. If you guys will bear with me for a moment. But we are going to be going over some of my artwork. We're going to talk a little bit about where I come from with my art, and we're going to talk a little bit about where I come from with my art and where I see myself, what has influenced me, different things like that. So, hope you guys enjoy. And this here is one of my sketchbooks, and it's very, very different than some of the stuff that you'll find in others of my sketchbooks, like this one here. So, two different styles of mine. I do work to draw and illustrate in ways that convey the feeling of what I feel most for that topic or whatnot, and this is what I've done. So this is more like, I don't know, urban street skater, BMX, which is how I grew up and some of the interests I have had, whatever. And then this is more mid-century Polynesian tiki, kind of style that I have and have had and still enjoy. And you can see, different, very, very different style there. But both are me, and I don't really strive to maintain to just one. I do whatever I enjoy and how I enjoy it, or how I feel it best conveys those ideas. So, I have some different ones here that are kind of graffiti-ish. I don't really consider myself to be a graffiti artist. So these are more stylistic letters to me, which to me is a very different thing than graffiti art. They do have some graffiti elements to them, because I used to do that more when I was in high school, and yeah, it is part of my art to a degree, but I don't claim to be a graffiti artist. So kind of keep that in mind. Some of these are just quick throw ups just because I'm trying to get, warmed up for the day or get the feel, because some days I just don't feel like drawing and I'm trying to draw, and sometimes I just gotta, like get out there and try, and they don't really work. But I find those days it really comes through a lot of times in the fact that, like, the illustrations I put out there are, you know, expressing what I feel, right? So like I do a lot of this with side profiles of people. I like exaggerated teeth, exaggerated eyes that aren't like normal. This probably comes more from when I used to be more into anime and stuff. I'm not as much into anime these days. Not that I dislike it. I think it's a whole talent on its own and whatever. But it's leftover influences for sure, on some of the influences for my eye work that I've done. Here in a minute, you'll see a very sad attempt at anime. Because, yeah, I'm not into that anymore and it's very hard. These are definitely like my mid-century modern inspired stuff. I carve a lot of these into actual wood panels, which we'll do some videos on this channel of me doing wood carving as well, and three-dimensional sculptures, because I do that quite a bit. So these are, influenced from that, and I love to draw and kind of get an idea on paper of what it is that I might be looking at on the wall. These also could definitely be cut out, colored in or inked and made into just wall art as they are if I wanted to. Osa Pro, thank you. Appreciate that. So that's just a sketch that I was trying to, you'll see the backside, that's what's better. These are quick sketches. So the purpose of these, and I draw for each reason, right? Like sometimes I draw, sometimes I Sometimes I draw because the drawing is the art, and sometimes I draw because I'm trying to get a concept for art. So like these here are super basic, right? And these are for wood carving. So I do these little figurines sometimes that I carve out of wood, and these were like trying to get a super simple, non-complex design that would allow me to carve it and represent to some degree something. So like the elephant would be, you know, of course the elephant and whatever. And so that's why these are so basic and quick, because the better I do at making these simplified, the better it is that they work for woodworking in a lot of ways. Once again, that was something I started, didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. So I stopped it. Here's a abstract drawing that I did. Would really like to see this one in color, so I'll probably do a few more of these. Thanks, OSB Pro. Appreciate that. So I this one really doesn't have much of an influence in per se. They're just geometric shapes that kind of come out of mind, and they are definitely influenced by the 60s modernism, but not much else. And then this one here is more influenced by like the petroglyphs, that kind of stuff. But once again, it's abstract. It's not indicating anything with any particular, you know, meaning. I like my art to speak to the people that see it, and I like them to be able to discern for themselves what they're looking at and what it means. So we do that. Also, we, you know, keep on going. And so something interesting about art like this to me is that even though it's super basic, it's time consuming. It takes up time. It takes effort. It's not quick to make. And all of these circles here, this is a fill-in texture style that I developed for myself, based on carving wood, because I use like a burr on the end of a Dremel, and I dip and stipple the wood, and to indicate that in my drawing so that I would know I wanted to stipple this wood, I started drawing circles, and it's kind of just become part of what I do now. This is a common fill-in texture even for just wall art that I do, right? So I definitely have come to use this quite a bit. And then like here's a sculpture that I drew because I wanted to see what it would look like in sculpture form. Now, is it a sculpture itself or is it a piece of wall art? The honest truth of it is it's both. I have lots of sculptures in my head that pop in every day, probably 6 to 10 a day. I'll never ever be able to make every one of those sculptures. So the quickest thing I can do oftentimes is actually sketch them out or draw them out, and they become their own art. Now, could I actually make a sculpture off of this sometime in the future? I could. But you can tell by I didn't even go back and refine the lines. This is just a sketch, right, of an idea, a concept that I had in my head. Once again, another sketch. This is actually a wooden vase that I'm going to carve at some point. I did put more sketching and detail into this. Once again, very rough. I didn't outline, you know, because this sketch is intended more for the fact that this is a carving, a sculpture that I'm making, not so much for the art itself. Now, could this be a piece of wall art? Absolutely. In fact, people tell me it's a beautiful piece of wall art, and that's fine. But the difference in the drawing style is because of what the intent of it was. It wasn't intended to be a finished piece of wall art. It was intended to be a representation of something I wanted to make with my hands in wood. So that's why you see certain things like here's shading here on the back side that shows depth, but down here you don't see any. And that's just, you know, kind of how it goes. And then here's another drawing of some different abstract pieces that make up one larger piece. Like my vision for this is like, you know, an 8-foot tall wall by like 4 foot. So like a whole piece of plywood, for instance, carving these into it. And then, or even taking wood and joining boards and doing a full panel out of solid hardwood and carving something like this into it to be a wall accent in somebody's house. Which the one thing that's interesting to me about this that I didn't do that I normally do is I didn't do the shadows for each piece of carving. Usually I would do that. So like here, there's depth on these pieces. You can see it. But like these are flat. I didn't do any depth. And that's because I did a lot of drawing on this, and I just kind of stopped doing the depth is what happened, and I never went back and finished it. But it's just an idea. Some quick letters that I do sometimes. These are super quick, like a few seconds each, trying to get the flow back, the muscle memory back when I haven't done letters in a while, so that if I'm doing any kind of illustration that requires lettering, I can get them going pretty quick. And you know, they're beneficial for just kind of getting your hands limber and your brain going, that kind of stuff. This one, awful piece of anime because I haven't done anime in like 20 years, and that was awful. But I do like the eye. The eye was pretty cool. And then these are more graffiti oriented, but I'm not a graffiti artist. I haven't done graffiti in, once again, about 20 years. So they were more graffiti oriented, and just trying to be more legible, but with more style. So while I don't claim to be a graffiti artist anymore, and I don't do anything like that at all, as a general rule, I do like the fact of having stylized letters in my repertoire because it helps with doing illustrations. You can spell out things and give more context, as well as just give more depth to the feeling of a project when you do that. I'm not going to go over that one. Once again, more A's. I don't know if you guys can see these very clearly. These are all just stylistic A's that I was doing just to kind of get some feel, get back into it. I was working on background fills because I think framing and outlining in background fills actually do as much for letters and things as the actual, what's it called? The actual letter and the inner fill, and sometimes even more. So I was playing with these background fills and things. Sorry, I can't. Let me see if I can move that over and get more of this in here. Yeah. So, you know, these background fills are super cool to me. They actually allow you to keep the letter clean, but allow for you to allow you to have a very legible letter, right? But give it style that is interesting and add attitude and things like that. So I think that while feel like inside a letter is important, I think backgrounds are almost just as important if you learn how to use them right. So I'm always playing with that kind of stuff and trying to get better at it. This was an illustration for somebody. They were asking me about some stuff. This is super basic lettering. The letters aren't very good. They're just super, super easy, right? Like no stylistic detail to the letter, but the feel actually makes it interesting. And I think that's true with drawing quite a bit. I believe that learning fills and textures that you can draw into things makes a huge difference in your art. I think that's it in this book. Let me go over here. So that's it for that book, but I have this one here. And this book is a little bit different because this book here is more mid-century. And if you've seen any of my recent videos, these are the illustrations I've been working with on my videos for YouTube. So this is going to be more of that tiki Polynesian mid-century modern style. And these actually were sketched out with the intent of carving them. Hence, these lines and different areas, I was going to carve these and add those textures to them, which I probably still will. And you'll see a lot of the cross-hatching. You'll see a lot of the like diamonds and triangular hatching, stuff like that. And then here, these are basic these are shapes that I could cut out of wood and sand them and shape them a little bit, and the shape is really the design. So these are basic drawings, not much in the way of feel, just a little bit of shadowing to give me a little bit more perception of depth. And you'll see at times I narrow out the shadow because the wood would actually taper in and come flat on areas. So I do represent some of that stuff in my drawing just so I have a reference as to what I'm doing. This is just a colorized version of what could be like a wall hanging sculpture or something like that. Same thing. This was actually, it's a long story, but these were actually just plain rectangles that I went a little bit further and started adding just basic lines to show the depth and how it could change the perspective of it. And then this is a sculpture that, this is the real sculpture. I already have this made. It's a big chunk of wood. It weighs like 50 pounds or 60 pounds. And I had thought briefly of turning it into like a bird feeder. And that's what we have here is what it potentially would have looked like. So this is actually a product development and industrial design drawing for a potential product that I was looking at. Same thing with this. This is actually a bird feeder that I was looking at to have fun with. I don't know that I'll ever make it. I got lots of ideas, and once again, cross hatching for textures that I would carve into it. You know, different aspects of it, like the base plate where it would hold the bird feed, that kind of thing. This is a piece of furniture. It's a leg to a cabinet, and this was just one concept. We ended up going with a different one, but this was one basic idea of what it could potentially look like. Definitely mid-century modern for a mid-century interior. This was just something that we were looking at for like a wall sconce that I ended up not doing. This is another interior design drawing. So this would be like for how to panel a wall and how it might look, for a basic concept. And then this is another bud vase or twig pot vase or whatever you want to call it that would be carved out of wood. And these are just, titles to the page so that I know what it is and didn't get bored while I was talking to somebody. And that's kind of how that goes. Unfortunately, I didn't think about it when I did this. This one here was drawn, and then I did the drawing on the back side of this page with, alcohol markers. I didn't think about it. This is one of my favorite sculptures right here. And I will probably make this one day. This would be cast out of concrete, and I really, really like it. It's hard to see because, well, I have got this guy on the other side. And while I don't hate this by any means, this is actually a really cool mid-century modern abstract image right here. I wish I hadn't drawn over this and made it harder to see, because that's my favorite by far, which that's concrete, the bottom's concrete, and it would be about 5 foot tall and stand outside or in your house if you wanted it to be. This one's concrete, would be hung on a wall. That's nothing. So here we get into like some of my illustrations. Now these are like full on illustrations that are colored and everything. These are art in their own right. This one will be cut out eventually. I have this here just to kind of give an idea. If you haven't really ever seen your drawings or images with a frame on them, or at least matted, then I recommend you really do that, because like it changes the way that they look 100% when you put a frame on them. Yeah, it does cut off certain things, but the reality of it is that it also highlights quite a bit. It's pretty impressive to see stuff with and then without a frame. And then I made this gold on the other side because mid-century modern, very typical to have gold and black frames. So I wanted to see which one was better, and you can see what it looks like both with gold like this, or black like this. Now this is just a piece of paper, and it's amazing how a simple drawing can start to look so much more like a finished piece of art with just a frame on it. So don't ever underestimate using, like, before you throw away a piece of art or say it's not any good, throw a simple frame on it, just kind of see what it looks like, right? This is just a sculpture that I want to carve out of wood, and it was just, I wanted to put it, somewhere. And here is a wall sculpture that I want to make. I've actually made something similar to this in the past, but once again, that's just a ballpoint. This is just a blue ballpoint pen and a black Prismacolor marker, and just framing it, man, it makes it look so much more like a real piece of art. Like, it just makes it look so much more refined, right? This is the gold. This is just, once again, a piece of paper, but if you made a real frame and threw your art in it, whatever you've got that you're drawing, before you throw it away, put it in a frame and look at it. You might view it very differently by the end of the evening. So, that's just, I think, something that everybody should get in the habit of doing. So here's a dog. These are some of my illustrations. Once again, I do a lot of very abstract. You can tell what they are, but kind of only, because I want them to be open to interpretation or convey a feeling more than an item or an object. Now, that depends. If it's for a client and they need it to represent an object, then I'm going to do my best to represent an object or a whatever. But this is, I named him Dographus. And once again, what it looks like with a frame on it, right? Versus not. Super different, right? Just looks so much better. Same thing down here. Another dog with a frame on it, right? And then here's gold on him. I think I like the gold better on this one, for sure. It's just my opinion. But it definitely changes the way that they look, having a frame on them. So a lot of it can help you, if you're trying to sell drawings, it can help you upsell too. It doesn't always have to be a full frame. You can just use like a mat board, which is fairly cheap, to do the same thing. Just an illustration. This is Gerald the giraffe. And then once again, not graffiti, just stylized letters. And then there's an Arteza oil-based paint pen that I was using to make it. Adding fills and textures to words just makes a world of difference. So learn to do that, and it'll help out quite a bit. And then this is just a little abstract offset elephant. So I can envision this being something for like a kid's room or whatever. And yeah, just something I was drawing to pass the time. And then here is an illustration of the arches, an arch in Arches, Moab, which are natural land features, if you're not familiar with this area. And yeah, it's, super different when you have a frame on it, for sure. So then let's see what else I have. So this one here, not so happy with the cat, because love the background. That's one of my favorite background fills. The cat, though, the back of the head's not quite right, but more than anything, this orange is orange oil paint that I used. They're Sharpie markers, the oil paint pens, and it streaked real bad, and it got super, super glossy, and it just made a weird texture that I didn't like. The gold also didn't work nearly as well as I would have liked, but it turned out okay. I just don't, the cat I could do without, but some people said they liked it. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do with this one yet. I don't know that I want it to go out like into the public as a piece of art, but so that's it with a gold frame, and then this is it with black frame. So definitely tames down the inconsistencies of the cat in my mind to have the frame on it, but I don't know what I'll do with it yet. It definitely takes away some of the overt textures that I feel in this. I'll be doing some acrylic painting here soon, so we'll talk about that. Here's another cat that I did. My wife really likes this one. She actually wants this in bigger format to go on the wall in a canvas. So here's what it looks like with the frame on it, right? And then here's what it looks like with the gold frame on it. So yeah, I mean, it makes a difference, and I'll definitely be doing this one in larger format as well, actually on canvas or whatnot. And then these were just sketches that I was doing really quickly, trying to work out some body positioning of cats, because cats are, the way I draw them, they're kind of unique and difficult to get the heads to be right. So I was messing with a bit of, you know, how to make them look right kind of deal. And so these were just really quick sketches. You'll see I have an X over that one that's like no good. I didn't even mess with it anymore. I just nixed it. And then this one's got a check, that one's got a check, that one's got a check, that one's got a check, of course. Then over here is kind of the same thing, like some that were better, some that were not. Like this guy, didn't like him at all, but that one was okay. This one was better. And then this one was good to a degree, like not quite sure on that one. And then this was a good body with the tail. So I do that sometimes. I just sketch pretty quickly, trying to get basic concepts of how it would flow. And if it's good, then I put a check mark beside it, so when I'm flipping back through the book, I can see what I'm doing or not. And then there's this guy here. I don't know where this one came from. I was just doing lots of cats. Some of the similarities of what I've been drawing for mid-century cats, but with a little bit more detail. Not exactly as simple in its form. And then here's it with the frame. And then here's it with the frame, right? Definitely not colored. I may color this one later. I've got my mom actually, as a surprise, which I'm super thankful for, bought me a 120 set kit of the Ohuhu markers, the alcohol markers on Amazon or wherever she got them from. And yeah, so, you know, I could color him in for sure and make that a pretty cool piece. And then here, I think, is this my last one? I think this is my last one that I did in this book. So just an abstract, but this one was intended to be its own piece of art. It's just a piece of abstract art. And once again, here it is with a black frame on it, right? Which doesn't look bad at all. If I remember, I think I like this one a little bit better with the gold frame on it though. Let's set this one. Yeah, I just like that a little bit better, the gold frame. So that's kind of what I got going on. Hope you guys enjoyed the videos that I've put out. I have put out more videos on my Patreon. So if you're interested, you can go by, become a subscriber of my Patreon. I'll be going over. I don't want to really. I don't feel like I'm not trying to be a teacher. I'm just sharing what I have learned and what I use and things. So if you guys want to look at different techniques and things and see what's going on, then you can check out my Patreon and see if you like that and support me in this effort. And if not, that's okay too. Appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching the channel, and that is it for this evening. We will go from here, and I will be uploading more videos every month for sure, but hopefully every week and probably multiples per week. So thank you for stopping by this evening, and I hope you guys have a good weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.